Hey, Dr. Brian again here with Dr. Fred DiDomenico of Elite Coaching here for Principled Cash. So I'm going to ask Fred some questions here. I love some of the stuff. I just really love the stuff that Fred teaches. I was actually a client of his for a while, and what Fred talks about is communication principles and methods that really are really important to build lifetime relationships. And that transcends chiropractic in your practice. It actually helps you in your personal life as well. But right now we're talking about creating lifetime patients. So what would you say the 2 or 3 most important things there are, maybe methods or concepts that are in a chiropractic practice to create lifetime patients?
Well, again, when you look at human behavior, we talk about this on another video. Pain ignites change. Mm-hmm. So people come to you because they're in pain, but that's not long-term commitment.
Right.
Pleasure is actually long-term commitment, and we see that. And this is things that people are doing every day in their life. When you have a long-term goal that's pleasure, you're willing to go through short-term pain. Hey, how many people are married, right? You know what I mean? There's definitely in a relationship, there's short-term pain for long-term pleasure and a goal. How many people have kids? You definitely go through short-term pain for long-term pleasure. So all we've done is taken, this is how human behaviors act, and we applied it to chiropractic, mainly for the principle that we all believe as principled chiropractors, that this is a message for humanity. We can really change the health and consciousness of humanity with chiropractic. Right. But if we don't get out of our bubble and we don't really look at how do humans really behave, and we apply that in a program that can inspire people to change the way they live their life, then we stay exactly where we're at. Mm-hmm. And so I guess I was just dumb enough to think that in 122 years, we have 14% of Americans under chiropractic care. We haven't even reached tipping point. Well, I think we can do that in 10 years. I think in the next 10 years, if we can just do what other world leaders are doing and build a culture in chiropractic that can have more people come into lifetime care than ever before, that we can actually change this.
Okay, so yeah, I mean, if you think about what the capacity is of chiropractors, was there, let's call it 60,000 chiropractors at 1,000 a week, even if you saw that many patients, we have nowhere near enough chiropractors to see the amount of people that we need to see. So we have to get more efficient in all ways. And number one is communication and conversion. And how do you, not just conversion day one, because we see a lot of that, right? We see a lot of the practices that are the higher volume practices, that are big practices that tout how many new patients they got. Well, if we're talking about principle and we're talking about cash, and for some reason we're talking about insurance in there, that has nothing to do with it. Well, how do you know, because a lot of these guys are, I'm cash and I'm high volume, see lots of new patients. Well, there's a way to actually measure principle in your practice. And how do you measure principle?
Well, and that's through retention, and that stat is your PVA, and that's your patient visit average. So if you take how many people you're averaging per week, how many office visits, and you divide it by the number of new patients, that's really telling you how many visits is the average person staying. Mm-hmm. And I get calls from doctors all over the country just like you do, and you actually see their stats on your software.
Yes.
I mean, how many doctors are even above 30 visits? The majority of them are under 30. And so when people say, well, we get 9 out of 10 commitment, well, if that's for 15 or 20 visits, those are people that are starting care.
Right. Commitment to what is the question?
Yeah, commitment to what? They're committed to an initial change. And so we know that you're a chiropractor, not just to get people out of pain, but it's just to help them live a different life.
So would you say when they are in that 30 or below practice of PVA, is that where they're that the pain is enough to get them to a place where they're pretty much do what you tell them to do, or you drive down their throat some type of corrective plan and they're just like, all right, this looks like it makes sense, right? So it's logical enough and I'm in enough pain that I'll do it. What's actually happening there?
Well, what's actually happening is they're saying they're committed because they know there's an objection that hasn't been handled. You haven't dealt with them emotionally. So they're telling you what you want to hear, and then they're going through and they're really doing what they want. Mm-hmm. And so how we look at that is we say, okay, if you're under a 30 PVA, regardless of your intention, let's take your intention out of it because we know your intentions are the best. Yeah. You basically have a pain-based practice. Mm-hmm. And that's a weakness in your day 1, day 2. Mm-hmm. When you correct that, you're gonna see that jump to at least a 40 PVA. Mm-hmm. If you're 40 or above, if you're 40 to 50, then the problem is in the retention and the re-exam and the daily visit. Mm-hmm. And so there's other systems that we have that are pleasure-based that can take you from a 40 into an 80, 90. We have people at 100. And so 30 or less, that's your first week. If you're 40 or more, then there's systems that you can use that are in the daily visit, at month 3, at month 6, at month 8, at year 2, that can create what we see again, 78 to 86%, and that's the bell curve. People that are doing all of these systems are in the 90 and above % people committing to lifetime care.
Yeah, that's an amazing, if you just think about, because I would think, and just based on numbers I've seen across the network, that your average practice is in that 30 to 40 range.
Yes.
And so again,
Those
we're
are the
talking
good practices.
Yeah, and that's a decent practice. And so we're talking about most chiropractic practices in the country, even the good ones, are really, turns out, pain-based. And that has nothing to do with principle. That's not what, like you said, that's not their principle. That's not who they are, what they represent, but that's the result they are getting, right? So what is that? Now imagine, even if you take it from a 30 to a 40, that's, a third increase. What does that mean to your revenue? What does that mean to your life? What does that mean to, what you experience outside of your home, the things that you can do with your friends and family? What does that mean to, back to your practice, just increasing that patient, how many more referrals you would get? Because now they're staying longer, they're getting better results actually, and now they're referring more people. So it's actually easier to practice at that point because the momentum starts building, right? We talked about building that momentum, that snowball effect. That's just to 40 or 50, but now you're talking about 80 to 100 or lifetime care. And the biggest practices, the Zanos and all those guys, that's what they do. They build these huge practices, not on hundreds and hundreds of new patients. They build them on creating lifetime care. So what's the key? So what is the difference? How do you inspire somebody to want to stay and be under chiropractic for that much longer?
Well, and this comes out of research on human behavior, and I learned this from Tony Robbins' Writing Business Mastery. People buy values, identity, and purpose. So if you look at yourself, why are you a chiropractor? Why are you even watching this video? Because you feel you want to be your best. You feel that you can help people more, and it's just more fun when people are committed and they already know. So in Elite, in the patient communication system we're going to teach you, we'll tell you can increase your PVA 15 to 20 at least, and that happens pretty fast. A 20 visit increase in your PVA is a new practice. You're fulfilling your purpose at a higher level. And the reality is when you look at moving into a cash practice, it's not the people that are paying you up front. It's the people that are recurring paying, and that's why we have Fortis and Jonathan coming in. It's those recurrent things that give you the stability, and that's the purpose. It's not about the money or the cash over the front desk. It's about a person. When your PVA goes up 20 visits, your patients have a different mindset. They are thinking and living differently. Now, how do you change their mind? That's a formula and a system that is already researched and a method that we've already plugged. Not only have we already been doing for the last 10 years, but we're showing you in Principled Cash.
Yep, and we'll talk more about with Genesis too, how to optimize retention and let the system tell you when patients are at risk for leaving. That's kind of built into Genesis, because I think you said this before too, is you always remember, you always have the patients that you've made a huge change in your life, but you never forget the people that you lost. Those are the ones that you wake up in the middle of the night. Some of you have heard my personal story, but that's the ones that really hit home, and that's the ones you have to go to that next level and learn some of these things. If you're committed to the principle and being principled, and getting the results that you can actually measure whether or not you're principled, well, there's systems that are predictable, reproducible, that you've been just a genius at and a master at, taking all this information from all over the place, all over the world, all different experts, and pulling it into systems that are predictable and reproducible. So what we're going to do here is we're going to have a link below the video where what types of things will they learn on that through your other videos?
Well, you're going to learn how to motivate people. You're going to learn how to identify what's holding people back, their limiting beliefs, how to clear them, and how to find that empowered emotional resource. In other words, not what they need, but what they want, and help them identify and become so clear on what they want that they're willing to do anything, walk across fire to want to change their life.
Absolutely. Okay, so I think, is there anything else you want to talk about now, or should we just send them to the other videos? Go ahead.
I just want to say that we've come together because myself, you, John Davila, Jonathan McAlees, and Fortis, we're all principled people. We love the principle. We see that there's an urgent need. And so the only way you can fulfill that principle, because that's really why we're here, is to give you the best in these 4 areas that can really guarantee that you can help as many people and make a big impact as possible. So we've come together to create this program so you can fulfill your purpose. It's not about success, it's about fulfillment.
Awesome. Well, okay, well, click the link below the video here and you'll be able to see some more of Fred's content, specifically in those systems and procedures that you can get those results and measure that your actual principle.